Welcome back to the Michigan Business Beat, brought to you on the Michigan Business Network. Chris Holman here in the Holman House Garden Level studio. And we are on the road in a couple of different communities, as a matter of fact. We have Ray Littleton and Sydney Steele. They are shareholders and associates, respectively, of Foster Swift, which is a tremendous, Foster Swift, Collins and Smith, tremendous statewide and actually Midwest-wide law firm who does some tremendous stuff, and really, interestingly enough, is finding out a lot of solutions in the new COVID-19 environment. So welcome to the show, both of you. It's good to have you with us.
Thanks, Chris. I appreciate it. And while I am the partner and Sydney's the associate, I wouldn't be able to get anything done without our associates like Sydney. So they keep us on track, and so definitely needed here. And thanks for having us today. We really appreciate it.
Well, it's really a pleasure. It is. And you try to look at these circumstances from different perspectives, and coming at it from the legal perspective, there's a lot of new issues, a lot of new questions have come out of this. So let's get into that a little bit. Let's talk about COVID business liability immunity possibilities. What are those and how they work?
Sure. So at the moment, unfortunately, there's not a lot of guidance from the federal level from the top. There was a little bit of discussion in Congress about trying to get some business immunity legislation for businesses to protect them from if somebody got infected from COVID-19 and et cetera. I've got a feeling none of that's going anywhere before the election happens. But I think there's 4 states that have passed some type of business immunity legislation. And then there are a bunch of other states that have passed like partial legislation. I think in Michigan, they're working on a Senate bill to try to get civil and criminal liability immunity for healthcare workers and employees in the healthcare industry, protect them from any kind of COVID lawsuits. But we'll have to check in to see how that's going. But for the moment, business owners, the best practices they can do is to, try if it's possible to work from home. Obviously have everybody mask up when you're close. Try to keep social distancing. Keep washing your hands and disinfect it. And listen to the governor's guidelines. Follow those. Those are the best things you can do at the moment.
So when I throw these out, anybody jump in who wants to answer these, by the way. Let's talk about potential lawsuits, because, all of us small business people out here, we're kind of keeping our heads down because this is kind of a brave new world.
Right. And, there's a couple of different areas to be cautious of. And I'll start with, why don't we start with your own employees. And so if one of your own employees, if there's an infection that happens, during like a work-related activity, there's things like, workers' compensation to look at. There's OSHA, OSHA issues, so health and safety guidelines, and there can be an OSHA complaint, and you actually have to be real careful for those because if you have like a liquor license or a food license of some kind, those things could be at issue. There's actually a really interesting case I'll quickly tell you about. It's something I've been trying to keep note of and watch. There's a case in Ann Arbor that got filed recently, and it's a former waiter of a restaurant called the Tamukin Noodle Bar. I don't know if I'm saying that right. I didn't go to U of M. I should have. I guess I would know it. But the waiter's name is Nicholas Prada, and apparently he contracted COVID on June 27th, and he reported it to his employer, and he was later terminated, and because the employer believed he contracted by going out to a party. And so and that raises some issues related to fair labor standards, and there's a coronavirus emergency leave act where you're allowed to get leave if you get sick, and so it'll be interesting to see where that goes. Couple other areas. I know we don't have forever, and I can talk forever, and I want to let Sydney jump in later too. Obviously, there's tort claims for your patrons that come in. If somebody comes in and they get sick, but remember, that's not strict liability, right? You actually have to have done something negligent, right? So again, following the guidelines, masking, trying to keep social distancing, disinfectant, washing your hands. These are all things that will protect you. Other things to be aware of are supply chain issues. So, for example, if your supplier is in another state that maybe goes into lockdown, or in another country that's having trouble, you may be getting your shipments in late. And plus, mail's slow as it is. If you need those parts to deliver for your customers, you might have an issue. You might have to find a new supplier. You might have to work to either sue to enforce a contract, or you might get sued for late delivery. Lastly, one of the other things I want to comment before I'm going to let Sydney get in is a lot of companies are seeking, they're looking at their insurance coverage to see if they have any business disruption insurance, so that they can possibly try to make up for lost profits. Those are really tricky, though. You need to actually have direct physical loss and damage to the property to be able to seek it. And there's a recent decision out of Judge Dragonchuk's court that found that just because you were shut down by the governor, that's not enough. So it'll be interesting to see where those go. And Sydney, you can jump in if there's anything else I left off.
Sydney,
Yeah,
go ahead. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, okay. So yeah, I just wanted to kind of cover, the specifics of what would happen if you are served with a summons and complaint. And nobody really wants this to happen at all, but the best thing to do is really take control of the situation and start dealing with it right away. Don't put it off. So the first thing you're going to want to do is just review the complaint that you were served with very closely, take note of any deadlines, and also just make sure that you were the proper entity and they meant to serve you and that your name is on it. And then next, you're going to want to start compiling any sort of documents you have. And in the meantime, don't delete anything. Some people might think that they're doing service by maybe getting rid of stuff, but actually you're creating a lot of problems down the long run. So collect documents, don't delete anything. And then also you're going to need to speak with your insurer or find an attorney. And that's going to be one of the things you're going to want to do right away, because as soon as you're served, the clock starts ticking. And the attorney and the insurer are going to need to figure out what sort of coverage you have and kind of determine the best way to go forward. So yeah, although it's scary, you can get through it by taking into consideration those steps.
I think the most important point you guys made is get a hold of a professional, because this is no place to make a mistake.
That's correct. That's right, Chris. And yeah, they can call us if you want, and we can definitely help you through it. Either we'll point you in the right direction, or we can take care of yourself.
Well, listen, anybody who's smart will call you guys. Ray Littleton and Sydney Steele from Foster Swift, Collins and Smith, all over the state of Michigan and the Midwest. Thanks for joining us. We appreciate the information.
Thanks for having us, Chris.
Yeah, thank you.
Our pleasure. We're going to be right back. You've been watching the Michigan Business Beat on the Michigan Business Network. I'm Chris Holman. Stick around.